morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name's Jade, and this is How to App on iOS. And today we have Minnesotan rock and roll legend Michael Thompson in the house for an interview. We're going to kick off with a song called Honor. Hello. Welcome to the show, everybody. Michael Thompson there, and that was Honor. And I'm sure that song has a whole lot of great meaning. We're going to find that out today. Hey, you're going to have to bear with me, folks. Sorry we're a little bit late. Time was a little bit wrong. Things are a little bit crazy here because there's been some massive changes to my studio in the last 24 hours. I no longer am sitting here talking into a camera. I'm talking into a teleprompter these days because things change, and I'm getting used to this entire thing of looking at the show in a small box in front of me. So you'll have to bear with me today. Hopefully this thing pays off in the long run for the show in the future, but boy, has it been a few hours. So yes, we've got our guest on today, and welcome everybody in the chat. Good to see you. I'll do the hellos as we do a little ways into, maybe half an hour in as we normally do. Now, let me tell you, before I bring Michael on, this has been a long time coming. I reached out to him probably last year. I think I've reached out to him a couple of times going, hey, let's do this interview. Things just don't pan out sometimes, you know, so you just move it back and then it just feels right and it happens. And here we are today, finally with Michael on the show. Now, I've been following Michael for a long time. He has a distinctive sound to his music. He has a sound that I'm sure there's a lot of people out there would love to be able to capture in a bottle. It's a very old school sound, but a very new sound at the same time. Anyway, let's bring him on. He's got a really super fascinating story to tell. So I should just shut up, hit the button, do the thing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Michael Thompson. Oh yeah, let's Oja. Hey.
Hi, Jade.
Welcome. We finally got here.
Finally, yeah.
I know. I think, as I said, I think I reached out to you like last year and things just went, you know,
Yeah.
It's the way of the world.
Between the two of us, it just never worked out. Yeah.
Absolutely. But now it is, and you're finally here, and I'm super excited. Now, that song, Honor, seems like at the, you know, when I first listened to it the other day, there's a message there. You want to tell us a little bit about that song before we get into it, my friend?
Yeah, that song was written for a friend of mine, Steve Murphy. I met Steve in 1969. It was actually a pretty popular regional band and playing around, and he was kind of my mentor, and he was the one that ended up giving me the path to meet all these national artists while I was still like 16 years old, working with the association, to Bob Seger system, to Canned Heat, to REO Speedwagon, and bands like that, which led to my kind of production end of the business also. And he passed away in, oh, go ahead.
No, finish, please.
I was just going to say he passed away in 2020 of cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Really short notice and everything.
It's always terrible to lose those who you look up to, who have inspired you and got you to places. And it's always shit to lose anybody. Let's just be honest about it.
Especially
to cancer. Now, Pete Johns just had a show, just before this, talking about AI music, and I've said it too. Now, I wish AI would solve cancer before it tries to make music. What are your thoughts on AI music, Michael Thompson?
The video aspect of it, I'm not really into it. I'm an old school guy, like you mentioned earlier, and Pete's mentioned on his show, and Thomas. But I just watched a video with an AI replication system or app, and I'm just like, no, come on. If you sing like shit, you sing like shit. I mean, I sing like shit. I can put all kinds of effects on it to get it the best I can sound, but why not create something that cures cancer or AIDS or anything? But why ruin the arts? We already struggle enough the way it is. It's just sad.
Absolutely. Funding's never really been a thing that comes out to the arts.
No.
Fight tooth and nail for that stuff. All right, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Michael Thompson, what does music mean to you?
It's my life. It's been my life since I was born. My grandmother and her father played in Lawrence Welk. If anybody knows of Lawrence Welk's band back in the kind of pre-Depression era. And I spent every summer from the age of 1 till about 10 with my grandparents, always hearing music. And both my parents were very into music. And I don't know, it just like, that's what I want to do. And then when I was about, I'm going to say about 3 years old, we moved from the town area where I was born to southern Minnesota. My father took a job, and lo and behold, the neighbors next door's 2 sons had a rock band. And we're talking, this is 1955, you know, and I'm over there every day. And the dad played, the whole family played instruments. And the lady took care of me because both my parents worked. I was probably one of the original latchkey kids. And oh, yeah, they're playing, I'm going over there, and I would just sit there in awe and just loved it. And then we moved again. And lo and behold, one of the neighborhood guys who was probably 5 or 6 years definitely older than I, probably a little older than that, played drums in a band. And I spent a lot of time over there. So, I mean, I never have gotten away from it. Maybe I worked a real job for 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
Wow. I bet there's a lot of people jealous over that,
Yeah.
being involved in music so long. So do you recall when you're young in your house, your parents, obviously musical as well. Do you recall the music they played in your house, and who were some of those artists, and did they influence you in any way?
Well, they played everything. Um, they were into classical, big band, country. There really wasn't anything specific. I kind of was absorbed all of it. My dad loved polka music. That wasn't real pleasant, but I mean, I went through it. And that's what my grandmother played. My grandfather played accordion, and I inherited his accordion and traded that in on a microphone, I think, at one point.
So you never had a yearning to play polka music?
No. I have worked with some of the biggest polka artists, but not a yearning to play it. But, yeah.
Well, Thomas Christ has, I think, delved into some polka music. Have you, Thomas Christ? He's here in the chat. Thomas loves his polka music. It's not my thing either, but hey, more power to, music's music. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Whatever you like, you like.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I live 20 miles from the polka capital of Minnesota, called New Ulm, Minnesota, and it's also the home of the Minnesota Music Hall of Fame. So I'm always near polka music.
Now, I feel like I am a fellow Minnesotan. I lived there for 2 years. I remember the first time I came to the United States. I've been there twice. So first I came in 2015, just before the election. This is a fun year. And I stayed all the way till 2017. So I was there for about 3 months because I had to come back home to get some more money, and then came back. And I didn't know anything about Minnesota. But when I got there, man, did I fall in love with Minnesota. I didn't go to too many places, Las Vegas, Chicago, Detroit, South, I can't even think of the name of it. So San Francisco, LA. Anyway, I fell in love with Minneapolis because it was so similar to Melbourne here in Australia, because it was so cold. I'd never experienced cold like that in my life, and had icicles in my eyeballs. That was a very interesting thing to experience. But the music scene there was so cool, because even during winter, when it was so fucking cold, people were still going out to gigs on a Tuesday night and to a local band. Oh, I've lost sound. We've lost your sound. We got some sound issues, folks. We're losing everything. Hopefully we can get it back. Shall I do a tap dance while we're waiting? Let's say hello to people while we're waiting for shit to hopefully come back. Robert Redmond's channel. Well, I'll come over here. So I'll monitor him over here. There you are. You back?
I seem to have lost my audio.
Oh, you've got audio now.
And Mm.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, Jade.
All right. You want me to do a dance there, Ellie? Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I had to switch earbuds. I'm sorry.
All right. So your sound's gone a bit, well, we've lost your camera now. We've lost everything. Your sound's gone a bit muddy now.
I don't know.
I've lost your sound. Hello? No, something's not working. All right. I don't know what to do about this. Hopefully we can get it sorted. I'll say hello to people while he's trying to sort his sound out because I can't hear him. It's kind of cutting in and out. Hello to Lilly Pillies, Robert Redmond's Clip Channel, Jenny Jolivet, hello, Kid Kane Music, we've got Thomas Christ in the house, Jenny Jolivet, I already said you. What's going on? Today and yesterday's been a day. Oh, man. Whew. Let's see, covered by CQ, Secret Legacy, what's going on? G'day to you. What else? Who else is here? Let me scroll, find you all your names. Charlie Gabolden, hello to you. Sean Chandler, hello. Joe and Barry Glenn are in the house. Who else? Let's see. I think I've got most of you, hopefully.
Okay. Can you hear me, Jade?
Yeah, I can hear you again. All right. Can you hear me?
Okay, but yeah, now I can't hear you.
Awesome. Fucking hell. Awesome. Yay. Kim. Hello, Kim. Put on some polka. Hey. All right. We could be ending this show early today, folks. You know what? That could be happening today. All right, I'm going to play a song while we're waiting. And, you can hear both of us now, but he can't hear me. So that's not going to work. All right, let's play a song, and hopefully we can get this sorted. All right. We're going to play Mr. Greedy. Let's do this, and we'll be back shortly. Let's Oja.
My name is Mr. McGreedy. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, boys.
Boom! What's going on, folks? Which one did I play? That was Mr. Greedy. We played them while we were waiting. Let's see what's going on. If we've got sound. Hello.
Can you hear me, Jade?
Yeah, we're back. Rock and roll. Well, I saw you panicking. Can you hear me? You can't hear me, can you? Can you hear me? Fuck. Hello.
Can you hear me? No?
Yes.
All right. I'm winging it here.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I'm time delayed, so.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, awesome. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Good. We're back. Rock and roll.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Cool. Welcome back.
Hello, I can hear you.
I think we've got a massive delay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not going to work. I can't ask you a question and wait a minute for the answer. Good God. I don't know what to do, folks, because we've got a massive delay here. I'll ask you.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So what happened with your other headphones?
Okay. Well, I
Hello.
they died for some stupid reason, and my other ones are not communicating.
Right. So I don't know what to do in this. We may have to cancel this interview because, we can't do this with a 5-minute delay. Have you tried reconnecting the headphones? Have you tried dropping out the call and then coming back in? No, he doesn't have his YouTube audio on.
Okay. Hey, can you hear me, Jade?
Yes, I can.
All right, but I don't know how long they're going to last.
Okay. They ran out of battery, did they?
Yeah, for some reason, and I haven't charged all day, but some reason they didn't.
Well, they're working now.
So,
me.
I don't know for how long.
All right. Well, if this goes to pot, we'll just cancel the interview. We'll do it another time. Like it'll just have to be the way it is. So
I think.
So we're back.
I was going to say, I think maybe we should do that till I could find a better source. I can't even find the lightwave phones to go into my phone.
Right. Well, we're good now. Everything seems to be working now. So if it dies, we'll just cancel it. I think everybody will understand. These things happen. Technology happens. It is what it is. Ask the questions quickly, says Jenny Jollivet. Sorry. All right.
That's right. I did that.
Exactly. All right. Do you remember what the first album was that you purchased with your pocket money, Michael?
It was East West Paul Butterfield Blues Band.
Yeah.
I bought it for myself for my birthday, and that same about a week later, my dad worked at the college, and it was homecoming. He says, "Hey, why don't you take you over to the concert?" And it was Paul Butterfield Blues Band. And I got to go backstage and experience my first marijuana joint being passed around, which I thought was a cigarette. But, good experience for. Oh, fine. My dad sat outside the dressing room and smoked a cigar, and I didn't know any better. But 30 years later, I started smoking it, so I guess I haven't stopped. So.
Awesome. What was the first experience when you smoked weed for the first time? What went through your mind? Do you remember what went through your mind?
I was in La La Land for a little while. Good thing I was at some friend's place and they knew what was going on. But yeah,
What about?
but
Can I ask you? Have you taken magic mushrooms before, Michael?
oh yeah,
How many
oh
times
yeah.
do you reckon?
Oh, at least 30 or 40.
Wow.
I was a big psychedelic. I was a big psychedelic guy back in the day. So,
LSD?
um, oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yes,
hmm
we've got something in common. That was my drug for a long time.
That
Do you
that
remember?
was that was mine for a while.
Do you remember your first trip? First,
Yep.
yeah. Well, any crazy
Uh,
stories from your first trip?
Not really, other than just laying out. That Steve Murphy's the band all lived on a farm like the old hippie days, laying on the grass out there and looking at the clouds going by, trying to figure out what they were. And yeah, that's about what I remember, and seeing a few colors.
I
Uh,
remember my first LSD trip. I stupidly took it before I went on stage with my band.
oh,
What a dickhead, right? So I went on stage, and you know those light sensors. They're kind of like a rectangle. They've got a flashing light. They sit up in the corner of
yep.
venues and in your home. There was one of those in the middle of the venue, and I thought it was Ned Kelly. I thought it was Ned Kelly's helmet, and I started singing to it, and I had an argument with it on stage, and I was saying, Ned Kelly, fuck you, I hate you. And the band had to finish the show early because I was an utter disgrace, and I wanted to eat somebody's
Uh,
face.
yeah.
The joy.
No, I stayed pretty clean on stage, other than getting high, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was never a drinker, so.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a lunatic. Do you remember the first album that was given to you as a gift?
Hmm. I'm gonna say the Beatles' first album from my parents, I think.
Now, I'm guessing you're a big fan of the Beatles. I love this question because I'm a big Beatles fan as well. We know Russ is the biggest Beatles fan of all time.
Oh yeah, I know
Yeah,
Rush was the biggest, especially
absolutely.
early Beatles, right?
Absolutely. What is your opinion of the difference? Because I'm not a big fan of the early Beatles. I love the songs, right? They're good, great songs. But
Yeah.
I love the more experimental stuff. I love that stuff because I find all the early stuff of the Beatles is just it's just the love, 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 love. It's,
Y- y-
what's your opinion?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like the early stuff, but I got into the psychedelic stuff, and my high school band, we played a lot of Beatles stuff, Magical Mystery Tour, Revolver stuff, and off the wall stuff that most of the bands were playing, still playing Hold My Hand, Hold Your Hand. And we were up and doing that, and Hendrix and all kinds of off the wall stuff, and playing high school dances, where they expected you to play Long Tall Texan and play the Monkees and stuff like that. So
Well, you,
yeah, it more like you said, more of the psychedelic era Beatles I got into. Revolver was probably my favorite Beatles
that's a
album.
great album. That is a great album.
Yeah,
Were you
yeah.
ever privileged enough to get to see them?
I saw the Beatles in 1965. My
Holy
first
fuck.
concert, my first concert I ever went to, I think I'm going to say 10. It was kind of right when I just started playing guitar. I saw the Rolling Stones for 50 cents in Excelsior Amusement Park in Minnesota.
50 cents,
And
man.
and I think the Beatles was $1.50, but you couldn't hear
Oh,
them. They played through the little Vox columns and through the
yeah.
Met Stadium PA, and the girls were screaming so loud. But I saw Zeppelin twice. I shared a joint with Hendrix.
What the
Uh,
fuck?
oh yeah, but I think I was 14 or 15. Just lit up a joint, standing in front of the stage, and he goes, "Hey, give me that." And I never saw the joint again, but he walked off with it. And oh yeah, I was fortunate. I had a friend who had a brother who was in the service, got out, lived in Minneapolis. He knew when every concert was coming, every band. I mean, I saw the new Yardbirds, actually Led Zeppelin for 50 cents at the State Fair, I think it was. I Any concert I could go to, I could see. I mean, I think it was $1.50 to see the Led Zeppelin one tour, and I didn't get to meet the band, but they were using. There's a band from Minnesota called The Litter. I don't know if you ever '60s psychedelic band. Actually became pretty famous. Led Zeppelin used their PA, and the drummer was I got to know him pretty good. Ended up managing a couple of bands I had and booking them.
Holy shit, dude. Cold Acre says, okay, I hate this guy now. Jealous. Holy shit. 50 cents to see a gig these days. A gig costs something like $200.
Oh,
It's ludicrous for a gig these days.
hey, Amy, I remember $4.50 seeing Deep Purple, Slade, Captain Beyond, and Wishbone Ash. I mean, you could see numbers of bands like that for, pittance compared to today. If you'd pay, like you said, $200 for the cheap seats in the nosebleed section.
Yeah,
So
it's ridiculous how music has changed. It's ridiculous how everything
yeah,
has changed, In fact, everything's so overpriced, and you just think, well, who's getting all this money?
yeah,
Where is this money going? Because it's certainly not the artist. It really isn't the
yeah.
artist.
No, the artists are making money off the touring and the merch. That's it.
Yeah.
You can't. Who sells albums now?
I'm,
Maybe
I'm
some downloads. But
I'm curious to get your take on this. I mean, look. Let's not talk shit here. You've been involved in the music industry from both as a musician and from the kind of backstage scene with sound and lighting. We'll get more into that soon. Are musicians better off today, do you think, than back then when?
oh no, no. I mean, there was places to play everywhere. Um, like I said, I live about 12 miles from Mankato, the hometown of Tim Walsh. That was a hopping area. I mean, there were clubs everywhere, bands everywhere. Now, um, you got to move the pool table, fellas, if you want to play. There's no stage, there's no sound system. And well, you're not going to move it. No, if you want to play here, you move the freaking pool table.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bands are going in for dirt cheap. When I was in high school, I made more money than a lot of these bands are making now. Um, the only bands I see around here that make money are doing what we did in the '80s, where you're carrying a full road crew, full production, truck, and you're putting on the real deal show. You're not just throwing up a couple of lights and playing through speakers on a stick. But if you want to make $300 a night, that's what you do. But it's sad.
Yeah, it is. So obviously you've been, playing bands from a very early age. Now at school. Now I know Minnesota is very progressive. Did you learn any music at school? Were there music courses? And did you learn the recorder?
Yes, I did. I think that was first grade. We had the recorder, and we started in kindergarten with percussion instruments, wood blocks, and all that, and then first grade, the recorder, kind of second, third grade, kind of the same stuff, the vocal thing. And then when we got into fourth grade, or from third grade going into fourth grade, the school district I was in, you started band learning if you wanted to play trumpet, trombone, or drums. I got into the drums. And yeah, they started an early, I don't know if they do anymore, but they started at an early age then.
I would expect they do. I mean, when I was there, as I was saying before, we had sound issues and stuff, and I'm glad we've got them all sorted. So touch wood. Let's keep going. This is awesome. I found Minnesota to be such a really. I didn't expect it to be such a musical place. I always had this image coming from Australia that Seattle would be that kind of place. But when I got to Minneapolis, I was like, my Lord, man, it really is just a super tight knit band scene, and all the theaters that are around through the city. You've got the main theater with Prince in it on the wall and all that. I can't think of what it's called. I got to play there. It was amazing. And I can't think of what it's called.
First Avenue.
Yeah, First
Avenue.
I got to play there. It was amazing. It was so cool. But it just, and even like during winter, how people would go out to gigs on a Tuesday night to see some shitty death metal band who nobody's heard of, and the snow's like up to their knees and everybody's out there. So it's such a really band-orientated place. The progressive arts are just... so Do you think that's been a part of why you've been lived and breathed music so long?
Well, yeah, I think so. It's amazing the amount of talent that's come out of the Twin Cities or Minnesota, period, that people don't really realize. Olivia Newton-John's first backup band was all Minnesota guys. A friend of mine played violin in her band, and he ended up being violinist with Shania Twain during her first tour.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing musicians. Now I know the club scene and such isn't as good as it used to be anymore in Twin Cities, just like anywhere in the States. But still, yeah, there's so much art there. And Dan, who helps me with my production, he is on the Minnesota Board of Arts, and they give out grants. You go to any small town in Minnesota, and they have a band playing on a Wednesday night or Thursday night, any kind of music. It's amazing how much, music means to Minnesota. And I think.
And a little birdie tells me that they like to put food in children's bellies during school time.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Instead of teaching them something else, I'll put it there. I won't.
How dare they? How dare they? What a terrible thing to do.
Yeah.
We're coming down a path there I shouldn't go down.
Yeah, we probably should stay.
Now, I got to see I see Ali's mentioned here Babes in, no, she said Babes here, but I saw Babes in Toyland there. I saw so many awesome bands when I was in Minneapolis. It was just, and sure, I know that all around the world they're closing venues. It's a thing here in Melbourne. Venues close here in Melbourne. They've replaced live music with slot machines. It's horrendous, and to watch people sit there pressing buttons to listening to that horrible slot machine music, losing their life savings when instead they could be jigging out to a band. It's really sad to see that kind of happen.
Yeah.
Same thing there.
Same thing here. Although the casinos are the only ones that'll have a band play more than one night. But it's like, I can't imagine playing a casino when, nobody's really paying attention, like you said, and trying to play over the dings and everything. I did a lot of casino shows. We did a lot of, when I toured with a bunch of different bands, we played a lot of casinos. So.
Well, let's play another song, and we'll come back. We're going to get into your musical career. I'm so glad we got everything back online. Thanks for everybody for sticking with us. I'm
going to charge my earbuds up while we're listening to the song.
All right, well, don't change too much. Hopefully, we're all good.
No. Yeah.
Let's. We're going to play. What are we going to play? We're going to play. Jesus Drives a Pickup Truck, folks. Are you ready for this one? Let me cue it up. Make sure it's all good, and let's rock and roll. Let's Oj, my friends. Let's Oj. Yeah.
Rock on, lady.
Jesus drives a pickup truck. Oh, yeah, let's bring Michael back on here. Hope he sounds all good. You still with us?
Yeah. Yep.
Rock and roll. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Hello, Joe. Hello, Mr. Smith. Anyone I may have missed, and because the call-out's got a bit weird today. There's Ed Zielinski popping his cheeky little face in right there. All right. Now, you mentioned playing drums, but not only do you play drums,
Yep.
play guitar.
I play
Yeah, go for it.
keyboards. Yeah, keyboards, bass, everything you hear, all the instruments I played on all my recordings, except for a few. I have Tom Williams, who's with the record label that I'm on, plays guitar on a couple of songs.
Let me just say, you are a gun musician, absolute gun musician. So it's one of the. No, you absolutely are. You know, so your music is really, really cool. I've been a big fan for a really long time. You, as I said, you have a really distinct sound. I love artists who, in this weird times of 2024, still can maintain a tone and a sound from another era, but still sound contemporary. No, it's a fucking hard thing to do. There are apps out there these days that use fake tape sounds and all this to try and make that, and you naturally do it, and that I think is really incredible. So you started playing in when did you start playing in your first band?
Probably late '64.
Wow.
I knew like 5 chords on the guitar, and a bunch of guys that were about 2 or 3 years older than me wanted to start a band. Unbeknownst to me, they only wanted to start a band to get girls.
Of course.
And I think we played a couple of they used to do every Friday night, every little town did Friday night dances, street dances. And one of the guys had a connection with the band I was playing, and we got up a couple of times and played the only song I remember that we played besides Wipeout is Long Tall Texan.
So did you get any girls out of it?
I wasn't in. I've never been into music for the girls.
But did you
always
get
been
any?
into music for music. No, I never did. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
I was just happy to be up there while I'm playing in a band. And then in late 65, a bunch of guys in my class wanted to start a band, but they didn't have a drummer. They had a guitar player, and I went, I play drums in school. I'll give it a shot. So I went and traded my guitar in and an amp in, and bought a drum set and became a drummer for a while.
Oh, wow. So you fully just got rid of your guitar to become a drummer.
Yep. Well, I couldn't afford it. I mean, even though I'm.
Oh.
No. Stipulation was if you want it work. I mean, like I mentioned, living with my grandparents every summer. Well, my grandmother and her sister cooked for about 30 or 40 guys. When I was 4, I was washing dishes and doing whatever, and then I'd run down to the gravel pit with donuts and rolls and hand them out and coffee to the truck drivers and maybe make a nickel or two. And when we made the initial move to where I live now, every kid hoed beans. I worked 50 cents a day. I went out in the fields and hoed beans to make money to buy my equipment. And so
50
never
cents
been afraid to work.
50 cents a day, and that gets you a ticket to go and see the fucking Beatles.
Yep, that bought my ticket to go see the Beatles. Yep.
That's awesome. So I've got here you're in a band called Thrust.
Yeah,
that sounds a bit
not the famous Thrust.
But sounds
not
a bit
the famous
sexual.
Thrust.
Sounds a bit sexual. What's going on with Thrust?
It kind of was, but it was more oriented towards rocket. The thrust of a rocket.
Right.
There were a lot of pelvic thrusts on stage, though. But
so what was that band all about? How did it form, and how long did it go for? And did you tour? What was that all about?
Thrust went for about 4 years. I switched back to guitar when I started Thrust, and then I got a good friend from high school drumming. We ended up Thrust, our management company was called Shone, who was the biggest concert promoter in the Twin Cities. I think they're still going. They also have Company 7 and Jam. They actually handled our act. We were booked all over the Midwest, mostly playing ballrooms to 2 or 3 thousand people a night, playing festivals. We were pretty much a three-piece band until towards the end we had the drummer had left. There was just like any band, internal conflicts. And finally, one day, I mean, we were touring. We had a four-man road crew, big light show, big everything. I owned all the equipment and built a lot of it myself too. Um, and finally, I got to a gig with the road crew. I always rode with them in the truck, and we were supposed to start at 9, and nobody showed up till 10:45. Well, I loaded all my sound gear and my equipment, and it said, "Have at it. I'm done. You know, I can't take this anymore. I don't need this." And that was the end of that band. So,
The one thing I noticed when I was living in Minneapolis was, and that's a bit different. I don't know if this is the same for a lot of artists there. Here in Australia, you don't really like have a regular band room. Like I think it might be different now. When I was a kid, we would hire rehearsal rooms each weekend, but we would have to take our gear there each weekend and lug it into the rehearsal room, use their shitty PA, whatever it is. But when I was living in Minneapolis, it seemed like a lot of artists had like leased. And I know it seems like in America, a lot of places lease a room and keep all their gear in there and go, so you don't need to catalog all your stuff. Was that something that you did as well? Is that common
yeah,
in the US?
yeah. Well, it was Thrush. I lived on a farm, so we practiced out there. But when I
Right.
left Thrush, I went into MeanStreak, which was already kind of a formed band with a little different name. We changed it all. Um, I During Thrust 2, I also rented a room. It's called the Eckes Building in Mankato, and uh, it's an old school building. I'm trying to think. There was probably at one time 12 to 15 bands in that building,
Yep.
plus a recording studio where John Denver started his solo career. So that was pretty cool because my band at the time, after my high school band ended, I went out and started jobbing. I played with Dave Dudley. What is it? 6 Days on the Road. Marvin Rainwater. May the Bluebird of Paradise fly up your nose. Sherwin Linton, a bunch of country guys, and I just filled in for 50s bands. Just making sure I kept playing. But I started renting rooms from Ray until '81, and yeah, I don't think bands do that much anymore because I don't think bands practice like bands used to. Well, I think about it. Hey, here's the songs, everybody. Like look at the jams on YouTube. Lori and all those people get together and and they do these jams. It's like, oh, you don't need to be there. I mean, you don't need the physical contact, I guess, but I prefer it.
Yeah,
I like,
absolutely. I like
I,
it too.
yeah.
I miss not doing gigs. I miss the feeling of the audience. I miss the whole. I don't miss rehearsals. Never miss rehearsals because, as I said here, you would go to a rehearsal room. You never know what kind of PA you're going to get, and you'd have to sing into something
Oh,
that
yeah.
probably hasn't been disinfected, and you get
Yeah.
sick from singing into their shitty old mics.
Yeah.
They were different
Well, we
times
had a
back
big,
then.
yeah, well, we had a big enough room in Mankato where we could set up our whole PA and part of the light show and do actual full dress rehearsals. I mean,
So, so,
and stuff.
so you go from Thrust and then to Freestyle, which became MeanStreak. You're touring around.
Yep.
How far and wide did you tour across America? Was it from top to bottom?
Um, between the two bands, we went probably as far south as like Oklahoma, um, Missouri. I'd say kind of from our location, I'm gonna say maybe a 15 to 20 state area. Uh, full road crew. We rode in a van, had a tour manager and everything, and destroyed hotel rooms. And No, we didn't. We couldn't
No.
afford that.
Oh,
We
but
couldn't
no.
afford it.
So hang on, let's reel back a little bit there. You had to have like been a little bit naughty in a hotel room. Do you remember a hotel room?
Oh,
And what's the worst
I
thing you've
never.
done? Oh yeah, you never did. Of course you didn't. What's the worst thing you guys did to a hotel room?
Um. Well,
I'll share mine if you share yours.
okay. I'm trying to think. Well, it wasn't a band I played in.
Right,
It
of
was a
course.
national. I won't mention a national act, but we got banned from the Holiday Inns because TVs started going out the window because the tour manager ran out of blow. that that was probably the worst experience because I had to room with the person that was throwing the TVs out the window. So uh,
The,
he's no longer with us, but
the worst thing I think I
yeah.
did on tour, we had this. We went on tour. We had this girl who was backup singer. Nobody liked her. She got hired last minute. We were desperate to get her in the band, and nobody liked her. She was so abrasive, and she had a teddy bear that she took everywhere. And we're like in our 20s, you know, and this chick's got a teddy bear everywhere. And our bass player stole the teddy bear and
Uh,
jerked off all over it,
uh,
and then put it back in her room and didn't tell her.
yeah,
That's pretty fucked up. We didn't really wreck the hotel
yeah,
room. We just ruined the teddy bear. Anyway,
yeah.
the things you do in a band, you know.
Oh yeah, and the personalities you all can blob together.
Yeah.
Uh,
I can't believe I just admitted that on the internet. Oh God, what am I doing here? So now how long were you in MeanStreak for until that disbanded? How did it break up?
we were, I don't know, around 12 to 14 years we were together. Um, it came down to the drinking age had changed. We'd been through member changes, but we had a really solid four member core of a band. We had just a great band. We had a record offer. We did a demo, and then all of a sudden, the demo was done around the same time as grunge. The drinking age changed, so when we weren't doing the bigger shows, we would go do the clubs. 6, 7 nights a week, you'd go play a club, make good money. Your hotel was paid for usually. All of a sudden, they went from weeks to weekends. Our bass player left to go play with Bobby V, the 50 Starr. I don't know if you've ever heard him, from
Yeah, sure
actually
have.
South Dakota, but lives in Minnesota, or lived in Minnesota. So then all of a sudden we had to scramble. I went to bass for a little while until we found a replacement. And maybe about 2 or 3 months in, I told my girlfriend, wife now at the time, 39 years, my battery's going to go here on my earbuds, I think. But anyway, uh, I turned everything over I was a business guy. I turned everything over to the bass player. I was sick of doing all that shit. I don't want to do it anymore. The last gig I played with a band, he gave me a paycheck of $1.41. That's been a running joke for years. And
Damn.
me and yeah, and I went, nah. I gave my 2 week notice and uh, went back to college, and I had all the equipment, so I worked with a 50s band. Hell, I can make $350 to $400 in a night with that band running lights. So it's like, who can, can't turn that down.
So yeah, well,
So
let's talk about that. So you moved into as I said at the beginning of the show. Not only have you been in, playing on stage and in bands and living the rock and roll lifestyle, you've also been heavily involved in the backstage part of it, in the gear stuff, lighting. How did you get into lighting and sound?
Well, I got in, like I mentioned, I had a friend with a Steve Murphy's band. We did a lot of big shows, and I got to know a guy who had a sound company in Minneapolis. So I helped him out a lot. Then by the time MeanStreak ended, I had a truck full of gear. Bands were calling me, and finally I just said, screw it. My wife and I went to a show, and I said, next year I'm going to be on that stage. So I went out like an idiot, took my retirement money and took a loan out from the bank, and we bought a truck, and it just took off from there. I mean, I did all the promoting and the legwork, like the bands. It was just not much different other than just promoting that, buying the right gear. And I ended up with one partner for about a year and a half. And then we separated. I went on my own. And then I bought into a company out of Lawrence, Kansas called Stage Pro, which was one of the largest full service production companies. And we did everybody. I mean, I did sound for Whitney Houston. I mean, literally did sound for her with symphony orchestras for a 6-day run to Toby Keith, to everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
and a lot of back in the Thrust days, I built my own snake with a friend and I. I mean, we built a lot of the gear. So, and I also had a job for 2 years, kind of not in music, but still renting gear out. I was in the engineering department for a company that built standby power generators for NASA to the government to everywhere. And so I was in part of the designing phase of that company for a couple of years. Hated that. I hated working in an office. And so that's kind of when that looks good to me. I don't care if I have to do a lot of physical labor. I'd rather do that than sit in this cubicle designing generators for NASA or something. I mean, that sounds luxurious, but the pay wasn't that good. I don't know. I hated office work.
Designing generators for NASA.
Yeah.
I love this. This is wild stuff. So you always did you always have an interest in lighting and stage and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, like my first band in high school, I built for my PA, I built the light show, everything. So I was always the guy. When we first started, if you had a vocal mic, you plugged in your amplifier, and that wasn't cutting it either because we started playing heavier music. So I went out and bought speakers. That was my shop project, building speaker cabinets. So.
Well, let's play a song and we'll come back.
Okay.
And we're going to play Wounded. Let's play Wounded. So you ready, folks? We're going to hit it with Wounded. This goes for, what does it go for? We'll play Nothing. Let's do that now. And we'll be back shortly. You ready to go? Let's get it up here. Let's get everything happening. Let's Oj. This is Wounded, my friends. Boom to the boom. Rock and roll right there. That was awesome. That was awesome. Now, I know Cold Acre's got a little question there. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to touch on this too. Now, working with sound and lighting and stuff, do you get nervous when you read stuff out? Because musicians aren't really well known for looking after shit.
Oh, do you mean do I get nervous?
Like I don't know. Do you lease the stuff out to people, or how does?
Oh no, well, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
No, usually what we did is we had a crew,
Right.
4-man crew would go out semi. If we were doing like a standard summer, we did county fairs,
Sure.
and big festival. I had 5 rigs, 5 big systems, 3 main concert systems that we could do pretty much anybody. One was an industrial one that pretty much we did all the Amway. Amway was one of our accounts, and that was our industrial system. And then we had another system that we had in a casino, and the company was based in Lawrence, Kansas, but we had a in-house system in a casino in Caruthersville, Missouri. And then we had another little system that the guys who were in our local crew would take around for meetings and stuff. And then when we did a big festival, say we do river stages in Nashville, 250,000 people, all of our 3 main concert rigs would converge and do everything there.
I'm just
36 employees.
Right. I'm just saying, I know as a musician myself, I used to damage a lot of microphones at stick microphones in jars of Nutella and stuff.
Yeah, a good story of that is we did Edgefest in Somerset, Wisconsin. It was our first year, and the funny story was the company that did it before needed 400 stagehands, and they would always end up setting up on Thursday, the first day of the show. Jay, my partner, and I went in, had a meeting, and they wanted to try somebody else, but we charged a little more. But we said, we'll be sitting at our hotel by the pool at noon on Wednesday. And we were ready to go. We had to build a 10.5-foot high stage so that they had one side of what it was 2 stages together with a speaker cluster left and right and one down center with both monitor worlds in the center of this big, huge roof system. And one side underneath the stage was like different things for the artists. The other side was when the body surfers hit the front of the stage, they escorted them underneath, and we had a whole trail underneath the stage.
Wicked.
But anyway, long story short, it was one of Slipknot's first shows. And of course, it's kind of rain in the mornings, mud everywhere. Come on, throw mud at us. So they start throwing mud at us all over our shit. Well, by the time they got off, I know our guys had shoveled about 20 pounds of mud into their kick drums and kind of got pissed off. Well, right after that, there's still mud everywhere. I don't know if you're familiar with Flip, Bryn Aarons from Minneapolis.
No.
Anyway, they were just starting to hit. They were a Gene Simmons band from Minneapolis, and check them out. Really good. Really good. Bryn's a good friend of mine. Well, they decided to have a helicopter come in and drop 50,000 pounds of feathers. So we had mud and feathers on all the gear when it came back to the shop.
Man, that's brutal. I always wonder about that.
Yeah.
There was this gig I saw, I think it was Clutch, I think, and it's on YouTube. I think it was them. And it's raining so hard on them, and there's no roof, and all the gear's getting totally fucked up, and you think, how are they not dead? Like
I know
that amount of rain, and and I sit there wondering, going, man, whoever owns that sound system's got to want to kill themselves right now.
Yeah, but we didn't worry. I mean, when the weather's bad, we brought the roofs in. As for sound, we Scotch guarded all of our speakers. It sounds corny, but it worked. we could sit there and pummel in the rain as long as the roof covered the artist and the promoter and the artist wanted to keep going. Uh, but yeah, trying to think of another one. I think it was 311. One of those from that era, late 90s or whatever. We're doing a big college festival, and the guy sticks a microphone down in his wedges, not once, but multiple times. Jay, my partner, walks out, puts his arm around him, whispers in his ear, "Next time you do that, I'm going to come out there and shove that microphone up your ass." He never did it again. It was. But otherwise, most of the artists were pretty good. It was the funniest parts were the backstage, like Three Dog Night. They didn't have Reese's peanut butter cups, and he threw a fit like you always heard Van Halen with the brown M&Ms or whatever it was. People don't know the true story about that was the only reason they put brown M&Ms in their rider was to make sure they read the rider.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it might have been 311 or somebody at that same show requested a pink poodle, and they got it. And then they're sitting there going, "What the fuck are we gonna do with this pink poodle? We're heading to Cincinnati after this show."
That's
I got stories. Most of them aren't evil. They're kind of dumb. One of my favorite guys to work with was Wayne Newton. I know that sounds crazy, but I did a Christmas tour with Wayne, and we were in Cleveland, Ohio, I think it was. Holiday Inn. We're all down having breakfast. We have one whole floor of the hotel. All of a sudden, the hotel staff comes in and whispers in Wayne's tour manager ear. Well, he was carrying penguins around, and they would waddle out on his show dressed with the little Santa hats, and the maid went in to clean the room. He forgot to put the "Do Not Disturb" sign up, and he had him in the bathroom with water in the bathtub for him. They got loose, and they're running all over the floor. Oh, that was fun. Yeah.
Oh man, that's not something I would expect to hear about Wayne Newton.
No,
yeah. You mentioned about the singer dropping the mic and the fallback. I always singers are like, I'm a singer and I've done some pretty stupid stuff with gear, I have to admit, and I'm sure there's a lot of sound engineers who wanted to cut my throat. But do you think more singers should learn how to use their gear?
It's
only a microphone. It's
that
just a microphone, but they still manage to stick it in the wrong place.
So the worst ones are radio DJs. You would think they would know microphone etiquette, but they get up there and they slam on the mics. It's like, hey, you got 300,000 watts of PA here, dude. They're going to hear you 12 miles away. You don't need to scream and shout in the microphone, and God.
Yeah. I went to a gig in Minneapolis, and it was a mixed thing. It was like there was some metal bands and some punk bands, and the night ended with some hip hop DJs, and the sound was awesome all night. And then the last engineer came in for the DJs, and fuck me drunk. The dude talking on the mic was so fucking loud. It was just, and I'm just looking, going, your whole thing is DJing. How can you fuck this up? They did so bad, and they thought everything was stonking out there. They thought that sound was good. It was just terrible. It was really terrible.
Well, we discovered we did one rap show, and Jay and my partner, we had a little meeting. Go, never again. Got a call. Can you come and do Run DMC? I think it was Run DMC.
Wow.
No, but I'll refer you to a friend of mine had a company in Minneapolis. He's probably still going. Steve Wingy. Yeah, Steve, go ahead and do it. He had a EV rig, which the base sub cabinets had 4 18s in each one of them. So I think he had 48 18s. I got a call from the next day. He goes, guess how many 18s I've got? I go, 12, 16. He goes, I don't have a one. 48 18s. Took him right out. I mean, he said you could hear him going all the way through the show and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting at, with people not respecting gear. You do see it from time to time. People just roll up and think, I don't know.
Yeah.
There are some artists out there who are so privileged they just think, oh, yeah, I can just do whatever I want. And it's like, dude, you've pulled 25 people at this venue. Relax.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is it? Now it says here, in your bio that you have done stuff for like presidents. Have you done events for that? How different is something like that to a typical rock and roll gig?
Really not much on our perspective other than like if you're doing sound, you have to do the press. That gets kind of, I can't think of the name of the, been a while now, I'm having a brain fart. But anyway, there's a special system you have to hook up to for the press. Otherwise, it's security. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a lot of, a lot of security clearances because, well, Bob Dole, Clinton, Gore, Bush, Senior. And then I did like a lot of corporate people. Ross Perot, I did Ross Perot's 4th of July celebration, a couple of things with Warren Buffett, and lesser politicians. Yeah, other than security, that's about it for those. I mean, security at rock shows aren't that good sometimes.
And clearly they're not at political rallies either these days.
No, not anymore. Yeah.
You gotta have an ear for it. Ali says, is there anyone he doesn't know or couldn't contact within 3 phone calls?
I couldn't contact any one of those people. I mean, I honestly, our policy was never geek the artist. I mean, I always had conversations with them, and stuff, but I never got any personal relationships. I guess I was all business. It was like, hey, I could care less if you're. Well, here's a good story.
Yes.
We're doing this is not a. We're doing a big country festival in Grand Junction, Colorado, and I designed 3 or 4 tours for Tim. The lighting along my good friend Mark Russo was Tim's tour manager and production manager. So he and I got together and I helped him design the light show. So I was always involved with Tim for quite a bit. But I was backstage and I turned to go in between buses and there's Tim and Faith making out. And I right away was summoned. Tim summoned me over and said, "You will not say a word to anyone about this. I will give you money not to say anything. You don't need to give me money. I won't, don't worry." And probably I think that by the next week they had announced their fling and end up being married. But I did Tim's birthday party every year while I was with the company.
Wow.
Rayville, Louisiana. Yeah, that was always fun, except the loadout was, and the load in was a little different. They brought in prisoners. And the last year I did it, the 2 guards, they were like DWI guys or pot or, nothing major.
Yeah, no serial killers.
Yeah. And it was not that I know of. And the guards come over to me and go, "Yeah, we got to run back to the jail and get something. Can you watch the guys for us?" I'm like, "No." But they took off anyway. And I just turned to all the prisoners and said, "I don't really care what you do, but I'd advise you probably to stick around if you don't want to spend any more time there." And they all listened. Plus, we worked with prisoners before. If you promise them like cigarettes, man, you got them. They'll work their asses off for you.
Yeah. Everyone's a plan.
Can't just. Yeah, everybody's. Kansas State Fair used prisoners too. That was
wow.
I never experienced that.
Wow, that's wild.
Which is, yeah.
Cold Acre's got a question. He asked it before about your guitars. He said you must have some kind of vintage guitars. Is there a collection of guitars you have, and is there one in particular that you love?
I have Okay, Coldacre. I have a 1963. I know they were made in the 50s, but this was when they did a small rerun of Explorers, Gibson Explorer. Then I have a 68 SG. I had 24 guitars. I'm down to, oh God, my wife's listening too. I think I'm down to five, six, seven, eight, nine, nine. I'm down to 9 guitars now.
That's a good number, I think.
Yeah, I got 2 acoustics, and then one bass, and then the rest are electric. Well, I've got electric 12 string I built kind of from one of those kits stuff. But
Yeah.
then I have a collection of 1965 Fender amplifiers, so Coldacre,
Yeah.
a big collection of.
You go, Coldacre, you finished? He's probably wet himself now with excitement because that's how he gets off.
And a few Marshalls. So
nice. Now, how the fuck did you find us here on YouTube and Facebook, Michael?
Ron Ward.
Ron Ward.
Ron.
Right on, right on.
I was, oh, I was scrolling around going like, okay, I'm making music now. I have this, like an idiot, I made 100 copies of that first CD and like, I just give them away. And then I went, well, where can I play my music? I hit up the local public radio station, would play it. And then I was scrolling along. All of a sudden I ran into Ron Ward indie show. And that's how I found you and Pete and Thomas and Hippie and everybody. Is just kind of like, I'm going like, man, this community is like way better than my local community. And it's good local music community, but these people are great. And I'm going like, this really sucks, is there's so much talent in this community, and I'm sure there's others out there that I don't know about, but this community has so much fucking talent in it that there could be a lot of stars, but unfortunately now everybody's at the time when it's shit. I mean, so all we're doing is liking each other's music, and the masses aren't hearing it, except for what we're trying to do. And you and like Thomas and Hippie and the guys that, it makes me sad in a way that so much talent, isn't heard, but it is. But, I don't know how to explain it, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get you. It's a great community because at least people are listening. That's that's the thing. It's better than it's better than nobody listening. There's nothing worse than nobody listening. And for the longest time, that's what it was. Hey, Frank Terzos, he's popped in, and Dan Eckberg, and I know there's a few. Hugh Caldwell, Frank. Tom Caraher, hello. I've been terrible trying to chat out to everybody here today. So you find all of us weirdos. We're Ron Ward.
I'd like to get a dick insider, please.
There you go. There's a bit of Ron Ward for you. So you find it, and you're welcomed into this community. Your music's fantastic, and so you're retired now. Is that the deal? And then you start making music again. How and what's the process of how you put together an album? Have you got your own little studio set up? What are you using to do all of that?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Okay. I have a Tascam 24 digital console that I use for my interface, and I'm going into the Cubase.
You on so you on a laptop or Mac?
No, I'm on a PC.
PC, Cubase. Yep.
Cubase, yeah. Pro, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I just got this system probably. None of my music has been recorded on this system. Well, I have music on it, but no one's heard any music on this. I used a Korg D3200 workstation, digital workstation.
Yeah.
And that's what all my music that you guys are hearing right now on. Then I took it over to my friend Dan's, as you'll see in the end of my videos a lot. It's D Xanthro, Dan Zelski. Dan's been a friend of mine. He actually used to be a fan of all the bands I played in, and we met probably 10, 12 years ago. And he had Cakewalk, and I said, gee, I'd like to get this mixed down. This Korg is just kind of worthless, a little screen the size of a cell phone, and it's really so I end up taking everything over there and dumping the WAV files on his system and mixing them down. And like I ended up with 46 songs, originals, and then a bunch of cover songs I did because I got bored. And we're slowly dwindling through them. We have 2 or 3 more left to go on Red Sky, and that'll be done. Maybe it's tonight. The last song for Space Case is coming out, featuring Tom Williams on guitar. Otherwise, I am in the process of writing another rock opera. I'm doing a Steve McClune Thompson thing, which I've already got 9 song. Music is all recorded for, and I just have a couple more songs that Steve wrote the music for to finish up, and then he's going to do all the vocals, and then I've got another CD of my own I'm working on. So
you've got 3 albums available on digital streaming service. Well, it's 2 albums and an EP.
Yeah.
So you've got Lilly. Now, all of these say 2003. Did you release all of these around the same time?
2003?
Yeah.
Lilly. Well, no, it couldn't have been 2003. They're all released probably from 2019 until the present.
Right. So we've got Lilly, Man Without a Face, and we've got this one down here, Chasing Old Ghosts. So these are all available on streaming services if you want to get these. I'll put the links in. You know what sucks? Songwhip no longer exists. And I used to use Songwhip to get all my links together. And if you guys don't know this, Songwhip got bought out by Sony. And it no longer exists. If you go to the website, it's gone. So I have to use a new link thing. And oh my God, I can't believe Sony bought out one of the most useful things. And guess what? As record labels do, they fucked it up. Good on you, Sony. Thanks very much for taking away something really good. So now you release these albums. You're actually with a record label, aren't you?
Yeah, that's actually Steve McClune and this Tom Williams. They just started it because Steve's really prolific about putting music out, and basically we use it as a publishing front, and then they're the ones that distribute it to DistroKid for me.
Right.
Otherwise, it's just a label helping us out, kind of I don't know. At the time when they started it, quite a few years ago, they were both in a band called Judd, which is actually semi-national. They had a couple albums out, and Steve sang on a lot of commercials, and I can't tell you which ones, but there were a lot of Northwest Airlines, and I mean, all kinds. He did a lot of commercial work and stuff.
I've got a question from Frank Terzo, who's joined us here late, and asks, did Michael ever get to find that drummer he was looking for? And if so, is he going to perform live soon?
Frank, listen, I did an interview or a show on KMSU, the local college radio station. And again, kind of like today, my earbuds died. I couldn't get the link to work, but I tried to play. I played some of your music, Frank's. I played a bunch of stuff from the community on the show. But I played a gig that following day with a friend that's a drummer, but I can't find a drummer. I don't know. Everybody, if they want to play, they don't want to do originals. They want to do covers, and I don't want to spend all night in a bar. I'd rather go play a hour and a half show or something, festival, than go out. But I do love playing live.
Yeah, look, I miss playing live big time.
Yeah.
When the opportunity comes, I go, we'll jump at it. Even if it's free. I think the last gig I did was last year. Oh, man, it was so good to be back on stage again. You just don't... The thing is, too, when you've been playing on stage for so long, you don't lose it. As soon as you get back on there, it's just, let's rock and roll.
Yeah. And at 70, I'm a mover. I mean, I'm still trying to do shit I did back in my 20s, which I shouldn't do. So, but I like running around, I think I got that from working with Cheap Tricks. I worked with them before they were famous. That Highway group was managed by Ken Adamany, Cheap Tricks manager. So I saw Cheap Trick before they cut their hair. Bunny and Rick had long hair, and Robin wasn't with them at the time till shortly right after I left. All I was doing was training their LD in for their first tour for their first album. But they had another guy called Zeno.
Just sitting here, just Cheap Trick, just cheap. No, it's awesome, dude. That's so awesome. Thank you, Frank Terzo, for the super chat. It does help because I don't know if I'm going to get claimed today. I don't know if your label does claim songs. I guess we're going to find out afterwards, are we? So, who knows?
Well, let me know and I'll send you a check.
It's all good, man.
Pay to play, Jade. Pay to play.
It's all good.
That's music business now.
There's been heaps of shows where it's happened, and you just go, you know what? Let's write it off. It is what it is. I'm more interested in getting people's stories than sitting here making money from this bizzo. Now, I wanted to ask as well. So now all these albums, as you said, you've been doing this with other people. This hasn't been your studio stuff. What is that process? So you get together a bunch of songs. How are you recording those off away from your own place?
Oh no, I record everything here. All the instruments recorded.
And then is it sent somewhere else to mix and master? Is that how it works?
Yeah. Then what I would do is I would just physically carry my cord to Dan's.
Right.
Wire it in, and we would download the WAV files onto his system. But now I do everything. I mean, I have a complete drum set, a '68 Ludwig kit, an old Vox Continental organ, an older synth, kind of does everything. I just do everything here. I drive my wife crazy, and I gotta thank my wife. She's put up with me.
I saw her in the background. Hi.
No, she's upstairs listening, I think. I'm down in the studio.
I saw her come down and help you when you were going through headphone drama. So thank you. I saw her just panicking and coming down and help you. I love that. I thought it was very, very charming to see Mrs. helping out.
Yeah.
Hugh Caldwell says, has Michael got any stories on a favorite band in Kansas?
A favorite band in Kansas? Not Kansas. I did shows with them.
His favorite band, Kansas, sorry.
Oh, his favorite band. Yeah, I did shows with him. Actually, my partner from the business was their, I think he was their monitor guy for a little while when they first started. And then he became front of house for Shooting Starr. But I did shows with Kansas, but there's a lot of them. I did.
I'm trying to think.
I was out at Kerry Lifgren's place once, his studio once. Got to meet him, and hang out for a little bit. But
man, that's when I was putting together the show. I was trying to come up with a title. I was reading all your bio and stuff, and going, "How do I come up with a title?" And I think the title was Jack of All Trades, and then I rewrote it. Was like, no. Rock and roll legend, and you are, man.
Yeah.
You're so very humble, and the other thing I just want to thank you for too. I notice it all the time on Facebook. You promote so many artists in this community. You post so many people's music on your page, and I really respect that. Thank you so much. I see you post my stuff and so many other people's music. So thank you for that.
Well, like I said, if I see him, that's the problem. There's so much material coming out. It's like, and shows going on. And I don't stay up that late. Like ever since I had cancer back in 2015 or 14, I was diagnosed. And once I went through all that goop, my whole sleeping habit changed. Now I go to bed by 10 and I'm up at 3 a.m.
I'm so
That's
glad.
why those early morning ward shows were always fun.
I'm so glad to hear you survived that. So how's that all going? Like, you still all good?
Good. I had my yearly checkup about 3 weeks ago. Everything's good. My doctor said I look like a 50-year-old for being 70, so that's okay. But I tried to, never drank, and I was pretty much vegetarian on the road pretty much from the time I was 15 until once I got off the road. I mean, I eat red meat a little bit, but I watch what I eat, and I try to walk a lot. I was walking up to 12 miles a day or more. This year, I'm kind of guilty. It's been raining so much, all my trails are washed away and
It's hard when
everything.
it's wet,
So
isn't it? I'm dealing with that at the
yeah,
moment too. I'm putting on all this weight because I can't walk because it's so wet all the time. I can't wait till summer so I can get
uh,
outside in the sun and walk.
yeah.
Hello, Feisty Feather. We're going to play another song, then we're going to come back and wrap this all up. Let's play this track
Okay.
here. This is called Wounded. All right, so let's play this and we'll be back in a minute. You ready, folks? Let's ooh-ja. Well, welcome back. That was awesome. That was Wounded. So you can find all these videos on Michael's YouTube channel. Let me just bring it up here. Hopefully he's got his he's found his headphones. I think he just dropped on the floor. You okay? Man, we've had so much craziness today. This has just been so much fun though, you know? So this is Michael's YouTube channel. Make sure you're subbed up. He's releasing music all the time. I feel so bad. Look, let me tell you a little story. So Michael's going through his phone today, right? And the poor guy, he's sitting there. When he turns his phone in Zoom, it doesn't change landscape. So the whole way through, poor old Michael's had to sit there and look at his camera on the side like this. So his camera's sitting on the side, and we've had to flip it over in OBS. So many technical challenges today. I swear to God, it's like it's totally been against us, hasn't it?
I'm a professional sound guy too, you know. Jesus.
It was like yesterday when we sat here doing a test, and we're like, we couldn't get the phone to orientate, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm like, shit, we'll just go into OBS. We'll flip this around. We'll make it all work. But you've had to sit there looking at yourself on the side the whole way through. Oh, man.
Oh, yeah. That's all right.
I love it.
I kind of sideways anyway, so
all those magic mushrooms, my friend.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So
Uh,
you're retired. You're making great music. I love it, and you know you're well loved here in this community. It's good to see so many people turn out and hang out. And man, I'm just blown away by your story. It's an incredible story. And it really blows me away that in amongst all these so many different people and so many characters amongst this community, there's someone like you out there who's just rubbed shoulders with so many talented artists. But at the end of the day, you'll know this. They're just fucking people, aren't they?
exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's all I ever, you know. I never got starstruck with anybody. I, I was too busy looking at gear too. That was my problem. Or listening to the guitar player, or you know, something. Or when I was working, it was like, making sure that roof doesn't fall on, somebody, or everything's working. There was always those things happen. I remember somebody came up, said, "Yeah, you got a speaker on fire up there." So we had to call
Oh,
on our
shit.
phone comm system, call up, go, "Yeah, you got a sub on the stage right side that's smoking." And sure enough, it was flaming up. And,
Well, this will be a boring question, I guess, but it's something that does interest me. I don't know. Hopefully, it interests other people. But what's the insurance like when you're doing sound and lighting? Is it high overheads?
yeah, very high.
Yeah.
I can't remember, multi-million dollar policy. We had to carry that. Plus, I had at peak season, we had 9 semis going on the road. So, they're paying,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
all the fuel taxes every state. And then we lease some of we own 6 of our own and usually lease 3. And summertime, we would have some college kids work for us that were maybe into theater or something. But
I guess it's
24.
one of the things people forget about is that there is a lot. We talked about tickets of gigs earlier at the show, how prices are just ridiculous now, just for the crappy seats. But there is so much that goes into these shows. The trucks, the insurance, everything going. The people, the stagehands setting up the gear. It's so much.
Yeah, well, the technology's changed so much. When I was leaving, my partner was hooking up with a talent broker, and they went up to Canada and bought out a company that builds these hydraulic stage roof things called Apex as a company. And we just had purchased one when I was leaving, so I used it for my final tour. Was Merle Haggard, Marty Stewart, and BR549, and a few other country acts I can't remember. It was a country Lollapalooza. Anyway, but that the digital boards, that was one of the reasons I left. I didn't like the digital. I'm more of a hands-on guy. If I want to adjust that compressor, I don't want to push a bunch of computer buttons. I want to reach over there and do that.
Yeah. It's definitely changed. Definitely changed. Everything is, for the good some parts, and for the,
yeah.
But these days, there's so many digital apps. Well, I do this on the show every day that are trying to recreate analog shit and tape fuzz, tape noise, and all this stuff. And I remember when I was younger, we wanted to eliminate tape hiss. And now everybody wants it back because it's fucking cool.
I know it. I couldn't believe that either, because I remember I didn't do a lot of studio work back in the old days, or didn't own a studio, but I remember watching the engineers, like cutting and tape, putting tapes back together, going like, shit. And then when the digital came out, it was like, I'm all about that, except now I've got to get used to my new system, which is a little different than the other one. But yeah, it's for the good and for the bad, but I guess I'm old, so I don't care. Just plot along and try. I watch your shows all the time. I don't go in lives a lot of times, but I go in and go like, oh, maybe I should get that app here. Well, I better learn how to run my system first before I start loading it with apps here and stuff.
Well,
But
the problem
I
is
use a lot of
no.
go ahead.
No, you go. Outboard gear.
I was just going to say I use a lot of outboard rack gear still that I used to use in the old days. SPX 90s, 900s, and you know, uh, sometimes I'll pre-effect my vocals before they go into my recorder. What I usually do when I do a vocal track, I'll do 3 tracks, three mics. One will be wet, and one will be dry, and then one will maybe have uh, another dry one, but a just different style of mic. I don't know. I experiment all the time.
I love that. We all have our things. Next week we don't have an interview next week. I'll briefly mention this. We've got a new series happening here once every 2 months on this channel. So it'll happen here this month, and then next month it'll happen on Mike Enjo's channel, which is Creative Source. And we're going to two grumpy old odd couple people, the tranny musician and the old expat British dude getting together, and we're going to talk about. I think our first episode we're going to be talking about gear acquisition and just. You know, because he does a lot of gear on his channel, and he has so many like expensive mics. But you do have those things that you just go back to. You know, you can own all this shit, but you have like 5 things that you go back to, and they just. And some of the things you can't even explain why you go back to them, but they just sound right. And you know, so
Yeah.
it's amazing how you can overload on gear and apps and all that shit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, like the industry standard vocal microphone, and I think it still is a Shure SM58.
Sure
You
is.
know, it's like,
Yep.
you know, it's like it's weird, but
Probably because you can't kill them. You can run over them with a truck. And they'll still
oh,
be all right.
yeah, and you know, like, well, you know, that globe's stinking pretty bad, and you just unscrew it up and put a new one on.
Or just turn it into a 57.
Yep,
57
57.
to
Yep, done that before.
Absolutely. All right. So
Yeah.
now you release so much music on your channel and videos, and you've got the albums up on streaming services. All the links are down below, everybody. What's coming up? Hit us with what's coming up for the future.
Okay, well, I mentioned the Thompson project is underway. A lot of the music's already recorded. They're going to be working on the vocals here. I'm working on a new rock opera called What If, and then I'm working on another new project where I'm just going to do all the vocals and everything. So it'll probably be a mixture of vocal tunes and maybe a couple instrumentals.
Awesome. So make sure you subbed up, everybody, to his channel so you can keep following everything. I'm going to hit with the last question, then we're going to go out and play the last song and move on today. Michael, if you were giving advice to somebody just starting out making music, when would be the best time for them to start?
When?
Yeah.
Don't know. As young as you can, and learn as much about the business as you can. Just don't. I want to be a rock star and that's it. Nah, learn about the gear. Learn how the booking goes. If you want to survive in the business, learn everything about the business, and don't be afraid to be that guy that pumps that person's amplifier or whatever, because you're gonna learn. Learn every aspect of the business if you're going to be want to be a working musician, not just the music part. I mean, that's the only way you're going to survive. That's how I survived. I was fortunate. I mean, I was exposed to music young. I had a wife that supported my craziness, and it's just everything fell into place. But I mean, I think a lot of it was I learned everything I could about the business. I mean, the booking, I did a lot of the bookings, the promo, the marketing, everything.
Perfect answer. All right, folks, we got a few things I'll mention before we close out today's show. I'm back. I'm not here, so I take a day off. Guess I take a day off these days. So tomorrow I am taking a day off, but I'll be back on Saturday US time, because it is time for, if I can find it here, somewhere. I'm just doing a quick scroll. It was so many weeks ago I actually set this thing up and then had to cancel it, and now we're back. Oh, where are we? It's not that one, is it? Where are we? Jade, get your shit together. It's somewhere here. Anyway, I'm doing a metal thing this weekend. So the opening hour this week is thrash metal. So 80s, 90s thrash metal. I can't find the thumbnail for the life of me. I've probably deleted it somewhere. But that is happening here on the channel. So if you're into like Slayer, Sepultura, Megadeth, Exodus, all this kind of shit, I'm going to be doing a tribute to a whole bunch of thrash bands, and I've had to, like, you know, get my voice ready for this because I just got over a massive flu. Here we are. Here's the thumbnail. I found it finally. There it is. So we're doing a thrash metal special this weekend. If you want to come and join that, I can't remember what the rant is about this week, but it's something juicy. And I need to make an announcement too, because coming up in about an hour's time over on 15th Ben's channel, he has his album launch over there. He's going to have a whole lot of guests over there. So get over and support 15th Ben for his album launch. We've got to support each other throughout this fucking community. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get out and play this track, get my shit together. Oh, shit, yeah, and if you missed yesterday, I'll just cover this quickly. Last night I dropped this video on 4 Pockets Mellavox. If you are into vocal harmonization on your iOS device, get this fucking app. It is out there. It is so good. I was blown away by how good that is. We are playing our last track today. Do you want to give us a little, you've chosen this for your last song, Where I Belong. Why did you choose this for the last song today?
This song, first, thank you everyone for coming in. I can't see the chat or anything. But this song the lyrics were written by a friend of mine. He and I did a little project. I did it for him, wrote a bunch of music for him. It's all about children and what war and all this stupidity in the world has done to children. Nobody thinks about the children, you know, until after the fact, and kind of depicts where do I belong in this world.
True.
And hopefully the video tells a little bit about it.
Let's just say something controversial, as I normally do before we leave. They care about them when they're in the womb, but as soon as they're born, nobody gives a fuck. Unbelievable.
Nobody gives a fuck. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much for spending some time with me coming on. Please stay on the call.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jade.
Stay on the call so I can say goodbye to you off the air. Thank you, everybody, for being in the chat today and hanging out. Thank you, Frank Turzo has sent a super chat. That's very kind of you. Remember, 15th Ben, there's a link there. It's in the chat. Thank you, Thomas Christ, for being a rad moderator. As always, you guys rock. And, we got a whole bunch of cool stuff coming up on the channel this week ahead. Lots of pre-recorded demos and lots of wild stuff, working on Adam Burse's song and all that jazz. Let's get out of here. This is called Where I Belong. And, do the things that make you happy, folks. Mistakes make you better. We'll all rise together. Stay awake. And let's ja.
Don't you know you're headed in trouble? Don't you know, don't you know, don't you know how you're feeling? How you're feeling right now? Take me down to a place with no space, with no trace. The carries you so high. The road it winds for so long now, forever gone. See it in your eyes. How would you like to take a ride? Would you laugh or would you cry? I'm waiting for so long, crying sad song, wondering where I belong. don't contemplate, shut the gate. It's right in your backyard. I've been talking about a world in trouble. Don't you know you're headed for trouble? Don't you know, don't you know, don't you know how you're feeling? How you're feeling right now? How's the time to take a ride? Would you laugh or would you cry? I've been waiting